Idaho is often marketed like a living postcard, towering mountains, wild rivers, and endless freedom. But for some people stuck in its backcountry, the Gem State hides a darker side you will never see in tourism ads. While a massive wave of newcomers turns Boise into a modern metropolis, a dozen small towns on Idaho's edges are left behind in a painful time capsule. They fight extreme isolation, deadly industrial waste pollution, and an economy stuck in a coma. From ghost towns that refuse to die to places with some of the most dangerous air quality around, we are going to explore 15 small towns in Idaho that might be best seen only through the window of a fast-moving car. Pocatello is often the first rough introduction for anyone exploring eastern Idaho. Mocked with nicknames like Poca Hellhole or the Armpit of Idaho, the city carries a heavy reputation. The real problem is not just aging infrastructure, but a brutal social divide. On one side, it has hillside neighborhoods filled with stable upper-middle-class families. But downtown tells a different story. A growing battle with fentanyl and meth abuse. Historically, Pocatello was a vital railroad hub, but as that industry shrank, what remained was a feeling of stagnation. Walking downtown can feel like stepping onto a slightly bleak movie set, with old storefronts trying to survive in an economy that favors nearby, more modern cities. Head farther north, and you will find a place where the state line feels like the edge of hope. Sitting right on the Washington border, Old Town is the definition of a place people skip over. True to its name, it feels like a leftover piece of the past that never got updated. Poverty here has historically sat far above the national average, leaving behind rundown wooden houses and businesses that never seem open. What makes Old Town so hard is the lack of any clear economic identity. Residents often have to cross into Newport, Washington, just to access basic services. Even though the surrounding nature is stunning, with the Penderale River flowing quietly nearby, that beauty clashes with a town that feels bleak and offers little future for younger people. But if you think economic isolation is the biggest problem, wait until you see the environmental toll here. Yes, Marsing might look like a calm farming town in Owyhee County, but the data tells a different story. It often shows up on the radar for alarming air pollution levels, and statistically can be 85% worse than the national average during certain seasons. Farm dust, heavy pesticide use, and trapped airflow make Marsing a harsh place for anyone with breathing issues. On top of that, the town's landscape is dominated by abandoned old warehouses and roads that always look coated in dust. Marsing is nicknamed the gateway to the Owyhees, but for a lot of people, this gateway is somewhere they want to pass through as fast as possible without stopping long enough to breathe the air. Speaking of places that are hard to live in, we cannot ignore the strange housing crisis in southeast Idaho. Malad City is one of Idaho's oldest settlements, founded by Welsh pioneers in 1864. But today, that long history feels more like a burden. The most obvious issue in Malad City is its housing. A lot of homes here literally look like they are on the verge of collapsing. Yet because land has become so scarce across Idaho, property prices have skyrocketed in a way that makes no sense. It creates a situation where locals are forced to pay top dollar to live in buildings with seriously questionable quality. This is also a town where you can feel socially isolated, with a community that is tightly closed off, and where newcomers rarely feel truly accepted unless their family roots have been there for a century. If Malad feels suffocating, this town will make you miss the noise. If you want to know what life feels like without internet in 2026, come to Pierce. Deep in the forests of Clearwater County, Pierce is a town that is literally disconnected. Here, high-speed internet is a myth for most households, and cell service can vanish completely just by moving one block. As Idaho's oldest town born from the gold rush of the 1860s, Pierce is now only a shadow of its past. Its population keeps shrinking because young people flee as soon as they graduate. Living here means preparing for total digital isolation, a challenge that might feel peaceful for some, but for most modern people, it is a recipe for quiet depression. Cold and quiet is one thing, but nature in northern Idaho can be far more brutal. Just a few miles from the Canadian border, Bonners Ferry is known as a place that looks beautiful, but is ruthless by geography. The main reason it ranks as one of the hardest towns is the extreme weather. Imagine dealing with an average of 62 inches of snow every year. Yes, in Bonners Ferry, winter is not just a season, it is survival. Heavy snowfall can cut off the main roads, trapping residents in bone-deep cold. On top of that, the town has limited access to specialist health care. If you face a medical emergency in the middle of a snowstorm, the distance to a major hospital can turn into a trip that risks your life. Life here demands serious toughness, or maybe just a little recklessness. The silence up north might feel heavy, but in central Idaho, there is a town even more hidden. Yellow Pine is not just remote, it is a dot on the map that dares civilization to reach it. Getting there means taking dozens of miles of twisting, dangerous dirt roads. The town has no steady power from the main grid. Residents rely on generators or solar, and medical services are almost non-existent. In winter, the roads into Yellow Pine often close, leaving people truly alone with the wilderness. Even though it has an annual music festival that pulls in tourists, daily life here is built on extreme self-reliance. With no major grocery store and no fast emergency response, Yellow Pine is the kind of place where a small mistake can turn deadly. Yes, this is a town for people who genuinely want to disappear from the face of the earth. Moving from forest to farm country, we find a town that feels empty even with people living there. That is Greenleaf, a place that often confuses outsiders. It has residents, houses, and roads, but it has no real commercial soul. There is only one small store and one gas station serving the entire town. During the day, Greenleaf feels like a ghost town that never fully died. Very little economic activity happens within its borders. Most residents work in nearby cities like Caldwell or Nampa, turning Greenleaf into a quiet bedroom community. But the lack of basic services makes it incredibly impractical to live in. There is nowhere to simply grab coffee or gather, and that makes social isolation a real problem for anyone who does not want to spend hours in a car every single day. But when it comes to rough reputations, its neighbor has an even harsher story. Homedale sits near the Oregon border and is often seen as the gritty side of the Treasure Valley. The main reason it lands on this list is deep economic stagnation. Most of the jobs available here only pay minimum wage, and in Idaho, that wage is still low compared to a cost of living that keeps climbing. On top of that, the local school system consistently ranks near the bottom, with student test scores often falling far behind the state average. That creates a poverty cycle that is hard to break for local families. Even with a tight-knit community and strong farming traditions, for newcomers, Homedale offers very few paths to career growth or a dynamic quality of life. Meanwhile, Kellogg, located in Idaho's Panhandle, is a town with stunning mountain views and a rich mining history. But behind its beauty, the town carries a dark environmental legacy. For decades, lead mining waste contaminated the soil and water across an area known as the Silver Valley. Even though major federal cleanup operations have been carried out, the reputation of being one of the most polluted places in America still sticks. The long-term health impact on residents remains a real concern. On top of that, the shift from a mining economy to ski tourism has not fully lifted everyone out of poverty, leaving many parts of town looking worn down and untouched by modernization. Natural beauty can be misleading, and that is exactly the case in one of the most isolated towns in central Idaho. Salmon often shows up on lists of the most beautiful places in Idaho because it sits along the legendary Salmon River. But for the people who live there, that beauty can feel like a prison. The reason is simple. Salmon is one of the most geographically isolated towns in the continental United States. To reach a major city or an international airport, you have to drive 3 to 4 hours through dangerous mountain passes, especially in winter. That isolation also makes goods and services extremely expensive because shipping costs are high. On top of that, medical facilities are very limited. Even for slightly complicated procedures, residents may need to be flown out by helicopter or face an exhausting drive for treatment. Next, there is a town in southeast Idaho that feels like the shadow of its nearby neighbor. It is Blackfoot, sometimes known as the potato capital of the world, but that reputation does not save it from a gloomy atmosphere. Often seen as the left-behind sibling of the more prosperous Idaho Falls, Blackfoot struggles with aging infrastructure and a downtown that looks faded. Property crime and vandalism here are statistically higher than in other small towns nearby. On top of that, the smell from massive potato processing plants often hangs over the town, giving it an unpleasant industrial stench. Even though Blackfoot has a unique potato museum and strong history, it fails to offer modern appeal for young professionals, making it feel stagnant and lifeless compared to other parts of eastern Idaho. Stagnation is felt up north too, but for more historical reasons. Every year, Weiser grabs attention because of its traditional fiddle festival. But once the crowds leave, what remains is the reality of a small town fighting to stay afloat. Weiser has a fairly significant poverty rate, with many households living below the line of basic security. Its historic downtown has real potential, but many buildings sit empty or wait for major renovations that never seem to arrive. Property crime is also a common complaint among locals. For a lot of people, Weiser can feel like a place where newcomers get trapped in the same cycle for decades, with no real economic growth. That is what makes it a town that feels exhausting to live in long term. Now, if Weiser is about economic struggle, the next town is about the absence of basic services. Placerville was once one of Idaho's largest towns during the Boise Basin Gold Rush in the 1860s, with thousands of residents. Today, its population may not even reach 60. Living in Placerville means being ready to go without basic public services. There is no school, no major grocery store, and winter roads can be dangerous because ice and snow are not cleared quickly. The town almost feels like an open-air museum that still breathes. Even though the atmosphere is peaceful, that extreme isolation makes it deeply unfriendly for anyone who needs the comfort of 21st century life. Finally, we are closing this list with a ghost town that still has residents. Yes, Silver City is an anomaly in Idaho. Sitting in the Owyhee Mountains, it is one of the best preserved 19th century mining towns in the United States. But making it your home is a bad idea for most people. Why? Because the town has no modern electricity, no cell service, and no working water pipes in winter. Silver City is technically closed for months each year, especially when snow blocks the only steep access road. The people who live here are seasonal residents, because surviving a Silver City winter without modern services is almost impossible. It is the worst town for comfort, but the best for history, a place where you can truly feel how brutal life was for miners back then. In the end, the towns we covered are a reminder that behind the grandeur of the Rocky Mountains, there are communities battling isolation, pollution, and an economy left behind. For some, extreme remoteness in places like Yellow Pine or the dark legacy of Kellogg is a fair price to pay for peace. But for others, these towns are traps with no future, sitting inside a state that is growing fast. After seeing this list, one reflective question remains. Is modern comfort really everything? Or is there value in silence, even if it means living through hardship